Furthermore, you will be hated because you will openly intervene against the emerging rampant overpopulation of the world population, which will increase to around 10 billion within the next 80 years. The human population of the Earth was around 2.5 billion. Normal human population for planet Earth would be 500 to 530 million. Through their irresponsible machinations and their greed for wealth, the planet will be so extensively impaired and damaged by the exploitation or plundering of its natural resources that it will rebel. And to a large extent, nature will be badly harassed and destroyed, and its diverse life in all its fauna and flora will also be largely wiped out, which will be calculated in tens of thousands every year. Between 50 and 60 genera and species of wild animals and plants are currently extinct every year. Nature and its flora will be deprived of nutrients and fauna of food and poison. And the habitat of nature and its fauna and flora will be largely robbed, and wildlife of all genera and species largely wiped out by the sheer excess of the future irresponsible human population. This, just as the habitat of all remaining wildlife will be taken away by the sheer mass of humanity on Earth, as I mentioned. But this will not only be on land. In floodplains, meadows, icy deserts, and also in swamps, moors in the skies, mountains, and around volcanoes, but also in the seas down to their deepest depth, as well as in lakes, rivers, streams, and all other land waters. However, this will also happen on land areas on which 1,000 different poisons are spread, especially by agriculture and industry without conscience. Just as much land and water will be contaminated and poisoned by other impurities of civilization. A wide variety of artificial materials will also pollute the land, forests, floodplains, meadows, moors, and marshes, and also the mountains at the highest altitude, as well as lakes, rivers, and other bodies of water, and practically all the seas. Many genera and species of marine life, as well as birds, land, wildlife, and forests, will ingest these poisonous materials as indigestible food, which will then accumulate in their stomachs, causing much and countless wildlife to perish and die a miserable death. However, future humanity on Earth will be unconscientious about this crime and will even promote it indifferently for a long time, as well as the poisoning of the atmosphere and the destruction of the planet through the excessive exploitation of its resources. And this will not be all, for through the fault of mankind, the climate will change with an upheaval in such a way that the climate zones will shift on a large scale to new areas of the Earth where new climatic conditions will arise and prevail. The tropical areas of the Earth will change and shift their foothills into the temperate zones of the north, and as far as the polar regions, causing them to succumb to heat and warmth. This climate collapse will not only bring many changes for humans with deadly effects from the heat, for example. However, unexpected and major changes will also occur for the entire natural life of fauna and flora, which will require many well-considered and important changes in nature from people on Earth. The natural vegetation that will emerge in the future will require a necessary reorganization of the planting of various plants. In particular, neophytes or foreign plants from other countries which can reproduce and spread independently, especially in Europe. This will be mankind. Just duty of reason in everything, contrary to what nature normally arranges, but which mankind will increasingly disregard, harass, and damage in the future, thus destroying the naturalness of its independence. As a result, Earth humans will in future be obliged to support the function of nature for as long and as far as possible, so that it can recover and become independent again. However, this means that in the future, earthly man, in his illusory knowledge and megalomania, will not place himself above nature, and in his delusion of ability, knowledge and expertise will not want to be more powerful than creation or nature itself in the future. Neophytes will be vital for the entire existence of nature in the times to come. This is because the Earth's climate will change in the future, the beginning of which began around 400 years ago through the fault of the growing human population, which should not exceed 500 or at most 530 million for this planet. The truth, however, that earthly man criminally disregards